And we are live here on nerdtoknowmedia.com, YouTube, Periscope, Twitch, all that stuff. This is the Pro Wrestling Rewind or the Wrestling Rewind number 24. So, Dave, welcome to the show. Hope you're having a good week with all things considered.
Wow, it's a pleasure to be here. How could you not have a good week? This was a historic moment for humanity to finally get a private rocket crew to the International Space Station.
Most
I
definitely.
hope everybody watched at least some of the videos from it. It's one of those things that I think I'll remember my entire life,
It was
where I
super
was
cool.
when it happened. Yeah.
It was super cool. It was one of those things where we could actually see it in Ireland, which is cool.
Right, yeah, because part of it was over the Irish coast. I remember them saying if they abort now, that's where they would
Yeah,
crash that's where they landed.
they would have crashed somewhere out in Galway. It was at Galway, so I was over the west coast, so it's pretty crazy. But luckily, it was all successful, and yeah, man, I really enjoyed that because fair play to Elon Musk. He's managed to do what the government couldn't. This is why corporate interests and private businesses are important to the
Yeah,
free market. The
yeah,
government won't
both have
help you.
values. Both certainly have values. I understand the arguments on both sides, but this can show you what truly happens when you have a private company that gets some seed money from a government project and what they can do with it with their imaginations.
Exactly. So it's pretty cool. You know, Elon Musk is going to take us to the stars, going to take us to Mars, and he'll be able to get off this horrible planet. So hopefully, that is
Seriously.
yeah, get
The
away
amount
from
of
here.
bad press that guy has to deal with,
Oh
it's
man,
nice to see him have a moment like that. And it's not just a moment for him. Like honestly, I didn't even feel like that watching. I just feel like this is a moment for us, and
for
not
us,
me because I live in America. Like humans,
humanity. Yeah,
right?
humanity. Which is, we kind of lose track of that. That we're all the same, because we are all the same species, and I believe our destiny is not on Earth; it's in the stars. So
Absolutely.
let's get there, right? Let's
Right. I
stop
mean,
all
you're
this.
either inner circle or you're elite. You got to
Exactly,
choose.
exactly. And it's that's kind of how I see it. So fair play to Elon Musk. He did invent PayPal, which is how I buy everything. So, who says in what 20, 30 years we're not all taking trips up to the moon or to Mars or elsewhere, right? So that's something that could happen, right? It's pretty cool. As dystopian
It's a
as this,
reality now, right?
yeah,
It's a
yeah,
reality that we
exactly.
didn't think would happen in our lifetime. We
Uh,
always thought we'd just be reading novels or watching space movies, but never actually getting there.
well, as dystopian as the world might seem, it's cool. Like the thing about a dystopian future is, yeah, there's lots of really bad stuff, but there's also massive technological leaps. So we are living in a sci-fi novel or a book. Blade Runner is becoming a reality. All we need now is
It's
like
very
AI and
true.
skin.
I
Um,
mean, you can deride 1984 all you want, but the tech that they invented to spy on people was pretty impressive.
right on, which is nothing compared to the tech they have now. So that's even more crazy. But before we get into the wrestling, guys, if you like this kind of talk and want to get into proper conspiracies, check over From the Dark on our YouTube channel and on Twitch, and the podcast is up. And we got into one of the most interesting theories ever, which we're going to do a part two of, and it's all about Donald Trump and time travel and meme magic. So yeah, that's not done yet, but that's a lot of fun. So if you guys like that kind of stuff, go over to Nerds No Media on YouTube, and subscribe, and you'll get the second part of that, or even check out the first show, which I was quite happy with, Dave. I thought time travel was a good topic to go into.
Yeah, it was really fascinating to go into. I don't mind using this time to cheap plug it at all because you guys really should check it out. And it's what we're learning is you can't take such a broad topic and try to distill it down to an hour. We're really finding some really great nuggets
Yeah.
in all of this that we're going to explore more in depth in future episodes. But while we're taking this time, oh my God, looks like we're wearing a cowboy hat because Jim Ross is behind me. While
It
for
suits
those
you.
listening
It
on
suits
audio,
you. Go for it.
yeah, I have AEW's preview for Double or Nothing playing behind me. But yeah, while you guys are taking this time, click subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, notifications, all that good stuff. But get us up there, get us boosted so that you can support some small creators. See what
Exactly.
else pops up in your algorithm, and be sure to go to nerdtoknowmedia.com. You can find all of our shows there, all of our network shows there. It's really just fascinating time. Glad to be part of it.
so many shows are coming up now. Like it's crazy. So I can't even run down through them because we won't talk about anything else. But just go over.
Yeah.
More has been joined every week. There's a bunch of new content dropping. I've gone through the vault, Dave, actually of the desk, and I've started clipping bits from the old shows. So a topic of that myself and yourself talked about the importance of wrestling theme music went up there yesterday, and it's been a long time since that show aired, and it's cool to
Wow,
actually
when
go
was
back.
that?
That was 2017 or 2015.
Oh wow.
A
Yeah,
long
yeah,
time
yeah.
ago.
Yep.
Long time ago.
Mm.
So
I'm gonna
I'm
have
just
to give that a listen. I encourage everybody else to because I'm curious. I don't even want to spoil the things I say, but I'm curious if I mention Zack Ryder and Maria in
you
that.
do. That's how it starts.
See,
That's
I'm
how
a
it starts.
consistent fan. I am a consistent fan. I will give
that's,
you that, guy.
that's how it starts. I was like, oh well, he brings up Maria. Actually, you said I'm annoyed because Maria doesn't have her theme music or something like that. And I was like, this is brilliant. But yeah, so look, if anyone is checking out the channel, we have a section called From the Vault, and that's like where a lot of the older stuff's gonna be clipped. Like not full shows, but like bits and pieces from it. There's a good review of Pro Wrestling Secrets Revealed, which I forgot we did, and that's up there. And there's a whole bunch of other things. So anything I find on the off days of the network, I'm gonna pop up some shows there, some clips there, because they're about 15 minutes. They're nice little nuggets to listen to. So I'd encourage everybody to subscribe for those as well. But Dave, last week we didn't do a show because we took the time off. Because you had Memorial Day, and
Yeah.
I just didn't want to do a show. So, so we took the time off, and yeah, like we were gonna do a Kane special. So if anyone wants a Kane retrospective, let us know below because that would be cool. But we said we would take the roll the dice on this one, I suppose, pun intended, for AEW's Double or Nothing. I did a preview of the show on the channel, and I said to get around to a review, so here it is.
Very well done, by the way, my dad.
Oh, thank you very much. And I'm glad that we put some time on this because I didn't really know how I felt about the show until the second watch. Uh, I was
Mhm.
I was kind of a bit annoyed with some of it, but I overall enjoyed it. And then when I watched it again, I was happy to be able to take some notes and properly be able to get like, more unique takes on this rather than what I've seen around. Like I heard some people say this main event is the best wrestling event of the year or of all time, and I have thoughts on that. But yeah, where do you want to start on this, Dave? Do you want to start from the beginning, or do you want to just go with the main event and work down?
Yeah, I mean, we can start. We can breeze through a couple of the beginning things. I will say I will probably make more references to the comparisons between recent WWE pay per
I
views than
think
I
that's fair.
normally would
Yeah, I think that's
when
fair.
we go back and look at a show
Yeah,
because this is the wrestling rewind. We're not covering this the second it happened. We took
no.
time to really go through it. I think we both had watched it twice based on what Derek is saying at least.
Yeah, yeah. I think this was a show that usually I wouldn't watch something like this twice because it's very cut and dry. But because of the way this was shot, because it was something so different, based in the world that we're kind of in at the moment, they really did push some boats out here, and the main event in particularly. So it was a show that I felt needed to be watched twice.
Yeah, because the first time I watched it, just like you, I went, I don't know if I liked that. I
Yeah,
was texting somebody and they said, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm watching this wrestling show for my podcast, but I really don't love it."
yeah.
And so I had to think about why I didn't love it and give it another chance and see if those opinions changed or didn't. And let's find out whether or not they did.
That's actually exactly how I felt. Because Bryn texted me. He goes, "Oh, you need to watch the Stadium Stampede match," and I'm like, "Okay." So I watched it, and then I was just like, "Yeah, it was the thing that happened," and I'm like, "What?" People are freaking out, going, "Oh, it's better than the Fireflies Fun Hell match, and it's better than the Boneyard match," and I'm like, it wasn't
That's
though.
absurd.
Yeah, it wasn't though. Like
It wasn't even better than Money in the Bank.
it wasn't, but that's what I thought too. It had moments. The second watch I enjoyed it a little bit more because I knew what to expect. But the overall salvo of this is that like the opening salvo of this is a lot of the bigger spots in this we had already kind of seen happen.
Mm.
So I'm like, there was nothing really new or surprising here. It was the overall presentation of it was a lot of fun. The cheerleaders and the overall dressing up of it, and that was fun. But I think AEW went a bit too far with this, as far as like they already blew their load leading up to it. So by the time it happened, it was like, oh, okay, so you've just done a little bit more on this rather than presenting something completely new. I think that's what WWE, the strength of the WWE cinematic matches were, because we had no idea what they were.
Yeah.
Everyone that we've seen so far is different, and nothing in them was kind of set up previous. It was just like, okay, this is something completely different.
Well, that was one of my issues, and I so apologize to Nat and Mick. To Nat and Mick, yeah, I don't even know their real names. To the Jack, to the Young Bucks, to Matt and Nick. Wow, yeah. Please come on the show for an interview, guys. I totally know how to pronounce your names. But
Hey, yeah.
no,
He'll get it for the interview. Don't worry.
I would get it by then. But one of the things that bothered me is that backflip off of the goalpost should have been one of those OMG moments.
Yeah, exactly, and it
Um,
wasn't.
it wasn't
No.
because they told us before the match they were going to do it.
Mm.
So I wasn't shocked or surprised. I was like, okay, now it's time for that spot. And that is a ridiculous spot.
It was, and he was injured
That,
as well. I think Matt Jackson was injured, or Mac or
if you,
yeah, I
I
think
don't
Matt
know if
was
it was
injured.
a storyline or not, but I
Yeah,
mean, he had to be injured after that fall. I mean, that's insanity. That's a legitimate 20 feet to the ground.
but see, this is the problem. This is the problem with this style of wrestling. It's your spot, my spot, your spot, my spot,
Right.
and by calling the spot like this and telegraphing it, you're like, oh, okay, so this is expected, rather than, oh my god, that's crazy. Uh, I don't know. It's throughout the whole match. I don't think they did enough to surprise me, and I don't think they did do as you said was expected.
Okay, I guess we're just starting with this match. We
Yeah, we'll just go into it.
organically did it. Might
We
as well just do
organically
it.
did it.
That's
So
what
hold on,
we're asking for.
so for
But
anyone who didn't know, there was the Inner Circle versus the Elite with Matt Hardy, who's not necessarily in the Elite just yet, and they were in a
he'll
Stadium
never be
Stampede match.
elite in real life.
Exactly. 30. It was a 34-minute cinematic match that
Was it though? Was it
yeah,
cinematic?
well, that's what they said. That's what they said. That's the way they sold it. So it was one of the kind of thing, not in Daly's place. It was shot on location, and yeah, it was a spectacle. That's what they were kind of going for. But as we kind of alluded to a little bit, it was lesser of a spectacle than we were expecting. Anything that was there was too telegraphed. I did like the bar segment with Hangman Page. I thought it was fun, and Jake Hager. So are we gonna fight? Or are we
Yes.
gonna drink? And that was fun.
It was very
Uh,
APA.
very
You know, it was
APA.
like
Very,
very
yeah,
APA.
yeah. And as the actual wrestling itself was pretty cool. I love the Young Bucks, so their work was great. Omega I
Yeah.
thought was kind of lost in the shuffle, to be honest with you. Like, being honest. Um,
Hmm.
Same with Chris Jericho. I
Though
like
he did drink milk in the bar. I thought that was hysterical.
it was funny. Jericho was kind of just there, but
Yeah.
it was what it was.
That
Um,
ending, though, I mean, you could take Kenny Omega out of it all you want, but that ending was absolutely nuts.
yeah, yeah, like that
So
was it.
that's that. Yeah.
That's what he does. That even though this match kind of got a bit, it could have went about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and it would have been fine.
Yeah.
They could have cut this down a bit. Um, but even though the match got lost in certain points, it kind of came back, and as you said, that ending was out of this world.
The ending was out of this world. There were a couple of moments I really loved. The ending was one of them. The other, surprisingly enough for me, not the biggest Matt Hardy fan in the world, but the pool dunking when he kept coming back out as different
Yes,
versions of Matt Hardy,
that was
very
amazing.
akin to the Firefly Funhouse of
Yes,
Cena going through. I was like, that's a clever. I
yeah,
love the storytelling that they're doing right
because the
here.
pool was from the Hardy compound.
Right, it was from the Lake of Reincarnation
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we got a V1 reference. We got like the
You
Team
can't handle
Extreme.
V1.
Yeah, that's so good, and I love that. I thought it was fantastic. That
The
was like
Matt facts popped up on the screen. I almost
oh,
died
it's brilliant
laughing.
because he can hold his breath for 30 seconds. It's brilliant. I'm
At
like
346 seconds, I believe
there,
it was.
there you go, 346 seconds. Um, and I thought that was my favorite moment of the entire match, of the entire pay per view. Was
It was
V1,
fun.
and also it was fun. Um, but
But my
see,
issue,
well,
my issue at that moment though,
sure.
is that it took so long that in my head, even as a wrestling fan who genuinely loves wrestling,
Hmm.
I went, I'm suspending my disbelief. I'm totally buying into this whole reincarnated as different characters, but what on earth has the rest of this match been doing for the past like 6 minutes?
Right.
Like that was the disconnect I felt. Like I didn't feel that in the way that Money in the Bank was presented or the Boneyard matches. I felt
I
like
would.
they went and they focused on like a feud for 5-10 minutes, and then
No,
they
back.
came back to something else, and it was like it was very the cuts were very jarring.
I would
It didn't
say.
flow very
I
well.
would say that for me would be similar to the way Oscar just was in the lift for like half an hour.
On second watch, she's not in as long as you think.
Oh, fair. But that's what it kind of felt like. I was like, why is she in the lift
Yeah,
for like the whole match? What's going on?
exactly.
Yeah. So it's just like, yeah,
Exactly that feeling.
I think that's just wrestling, right? That's just wrestling magic, wrestling storytelling. But I don't know, like what the thing about the Mahardy segment, and I'm glad you brought that up. Why that worked so well was because we weren't expecting it. It was something that was completely
Right.
different, and to be honest with you, it was probably the safest thing to do in the entire match, and it was the most fun thing because they didn't telegraph it. It came out of nowhere, and it was just the weirdest thing of the whole night. You know,
I loved it.
it was great. You know, like overall, this wouldn't rank what people are saying that's the best of the storytelling matches. I disagree with that wholeheartedly.
No, and this to me almost screamed of Vince saying, "Oh, I'm using my Titan Tower. Look how big it is," and Tony Khan being like, "I'm using my football stadium. Look
Yeah,
how big it is." And you
yeah,
all know what I'm insinuating. It was definitely a pissing contest between
yeah.
the two. It felt like to me, and I was like, "Guys, it's not about the fact that you're billionaires. It's about how can you create the best spectacle for each other."
Yeah.
And I think the Boneyard match blew any of these out of the water, and that
I,
didn't require crazy huge sets.
no, like I personally, I think the Firefly from Hell match is the best one. Um,
And I think that's fair. That's
just
what I love about wrestling. You can find something, regardless.
like just cause of how it was the most unique thing I've seen in about 25 years. So
Yeah.
it's crazy. Even longer, maybe probably ever. But
It was like reliving our childhood
yeah,
within 20 minutes.
exactly, yeah. The
Yeah.
Boneyard match, as far as like a match, still the best match of this whole way of telling wrestling stories. But this look, if you liked it, awesome. I liked it too. I'm not saying it's bad. I just wish they were able to control themselves. Sadly, AJ wasn't there though, Dave.
But I just think it's worth noting that he was involved in what's probably one of, if not the second best match during this entire lockdown era, even at
Definitely.
his ripe old age of 77. I
Well,
don't
come
know
here.
how old he is, but he's old.
He's not that. He's what, 47, 40, 48. He's not that old.
No, I think he's like 43, isn't he? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he's not that old. It's fine.
Hey Siri, how old's AJ Styles? I know he's 5'10" and like 218 pounds.
Yeah, I know that much. But I don't know how old he is. I look a hell of a lot older though because of my beard. I haven't shaved. I'm gonna shave my quarantine beard eventually, Dave. So we'll find out.
So I got distracted. My phone's sitting on the other side of my room and it started to respond.
See, that's what's gonna do. Big tech's listening to you. That's why
I
everybody
didn't.
should use the Brave browser. And if you want to help out the show, you can by clicking the link below. The Brave browser is awesome. Has a built-in VPN. Doesn't track you, and it's free. So go check it out in the link below and help support the podcast and the channel. Mo-
Absolutely. And AJ Styles is moving from Raw to SmackDown.
he is not only that, right? AJ's moving from on SmackDown, but also the Ultimate Bro is moving to SmackDown from NXT. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Matt Riddle. I love Matt Riddle, and that's a pretty cool move. I think after Raw this week, we'll have some more things to talk about as far as
Oh,
current things. But the big one
wow.
is they're moving, they have a crowd again, kinda, and they're doing lots of trades. Because obviously, if you fire half your roster, you're gonna have to fill those gaps.
We're going to
Um,
have to. I
that's
want
it.
to bring up just the scariness of my stats right now.
Go for it.
AJ is 42, so I was
Yeah.
right about 42, 43. They've changed this. I think he used to be listed, I'm 100% positive he used to be listed at 5'10". Somebody went in and changed Wikipedia. How dare you?
Wow.
Apparently, he's now billed as 5'11", but I nailed his weight, 218 pounds. I'm not a super fan. Let's go back to AEW.
Right, so AEW. I want to talk about the low point of the night for me, if that's okay. Actually, do you want
I
to
want to
get?
see if yours is the same as mine because mine was a production thing that made the whole night low,
Okay,
and I feel like you have a particular instance. So I'm gonna hear what you got first.
Cody Rhodes.
Yeah,
I cannot stand Cody Rhodes.
I don't
Like,
like him.
I don't like him. I don't see it. I don't see it. I just don't see it. I've tried, and this isn't a hate thing. I'm like, I don't see the appeal of Cody Rhodes at all. I think he's a great mid card guy. I think Dashing was awesome. Dashing Cody Rhodes was great. I like Stardust, but this whole match that he had with Lance Archer. By the way, two ex WWE guys, which is kind of funny when you think about it. Um, Going for this for possibly the worst belt I've ever seen in my life. Now I know that was because it wasn't finished because of the pandemic, but it looked like something like a template that you get in 2K, the 2K games make belt.
You can design whatever you want. Yeah.
Exactly everyone. That's what it looked like, and I'm like, oh my god, that is the ugliest belt I've ever seen in my life. Um, Everything about this was just like, this is Bush League. This is a man who has made a belt for himself and put on a. Now the match was good. I will say the match was very good, but the whole time I'm like, he's gonna win that, and this is the whole reason for Lance Archer coming in. It felt lame. It felt tried, and it just felt kind of pointless. It's like, okay, so Cody, you can't win the world title, but you won this, and you could have put over Darby Allin. I think Darby Allin would have been a much cooler pick for this. I think that would have helped him a lot more than Cody walking around with the ugliest belt of all time. Like Darby Allin could have had a skateboard as a belt or something. I think that would have been cool.
Oh, that'd be super cool. Yeah.
But it's like,
Oh, that bump he took. It
oh
was a
man,
terrible ladder match. The bump he took. I don't want to get away from this. But
we'll get to the
that
we'll
sparked in
get to
my
the,
mind. Oh,
we will get to the ladder match. But what did you think about it? Am I wrong here? Am I missing something? Like, if because I know people love Cody and I don't understand why. Like, someone just tell me what's good about Cody Rhodes.
I think it's a cult of personality type of thing.
Right.
Cody's the face of the rebel brand of wrestling, so you gotta love him almost. And there were times where I thought they did stuff with Cody well for going back in time.
Right.
I thought his NWA Championship match was brilliant. It was a bit too old school storytelling for me.
Yeah.
Well, my issue was that seemed to then become the theme of Cody Rhodes matches. He didn't just have wrestling matches. There always had to be some sort of hijinks going on, some sort of emotion on why this is so important for not just Cody, but the wrestling industry as a whole. And eventually, I think that just starts to wear on you because it's like, yes, your father was amazing. I'm really happy that you're getting these titles. Your match against Dustin Rhodes was it was great.
So
it was a true blood feud. I mean, the Hardys wish they could have a match against each other like that, and they didn't. I watched them; they're terrible. But
they're terrible.
They're terrible. I'm talking about the WWE ones. I mean, just oh. Do you remember
really
when Matt duct taped Jeff to a table and then jumped? Anyway.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah.
So like I appreciated the story matches, but the issue was that became all that Cody was, and he kind of just became this repeating guy where that's the kind of match he had. And then last night we saw him kind of in a normal match. Mac Tyson was out there naturally, of course, because we got to get that early WWE luster back. So
that's something else.
Grab the people they had at WrestleManias.
That's something else. Like, it's like we're gonna bring in Mike Tyson. I'm like, okay, right. So our big play here, because we hate the WWE so much, is to just be the WWE. That never works. And this is the thing, people have said to me, oh, but they have money. And I'm like, yeah, TNA had money too. Oh, well, but they have this person. I'm like, TNA had those two. And it's just like, all I'm seeing here is what we've seen over and over again. A scam to put over certain people. And I feel bad because there's guys who are genuinely loving this, and the product is very good, but as soon as I start seeing this, I'm like, danger, Will Robinson. I have seen this already like 3 or 4 times. And
starts out great. First couple years are fantastic, and then this is just a promo vehicle for a couple guys.
Yeah,
I know. I see what you're saying. I hope it doesn't go that way.
So do I.
I'm
really hope it doesn't.
That it won't happen.
Well, look, I was too once when fair play to Cody. He put in that rule where he couldn't go for the world title, but he gives himself a title anyway, and you're like, really? Okay, like
Yeah, your
just
first chance,
your
first
first.
defense of it, you got it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, come on, man. Like, it, I get the Dusty Rhodes thing, but when you think about the Rhodes family, there's Gold Dust, and then Uber Mid Carter. It's like, who you're you're not the. I think he thinks he's a bigger star than he is in real life, and
Well, he got over in Japan, and he thought that he was, God's gift to wrestling.
yeah, and
He
look,
bought in.
I respect I respect what he's done. Fair play to him, but I'm like, if I was running a wrestling company or whatever, based on what I've seen, like if I was, I would be putting other people first because at the end of the day, you need to build stars, and so far, and people might freak out in the comments. And look, do comment away. Um,
I'll defend my opinion.
they,
Comment away. I'll
they,
comment right back.
they haven't built anybody. Still, like everyone here are still ex WWE guys, and that's kind of it. Like, okay, so with this match, John Moxley, Brody Lee, more ex WWE, the very same thing that these people would cut promos complaining and railing WWE for, they just went and did it themselves. It's
Yeah.
it's unbelievable. It's like, stop doing exactly the same thing you're going to do, and this is like consistent AEW. This is what they do. Oh well, I don't think that they were upset that WWE pushed. I think they were upset because they didn't get pushed, and
Yeah,
that's what it feels like.
I think that's fair. I think it's a combination of that, but I think there's also a huge combination of some of my favorite indie wrestlers over the past 5 years work for this company.
Mm,
They are very, very heavily influenced by Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, which is a indie. I mean, I guess they still exist, but all their talent works for AEW now.
exactly.
But
Yeah.
yeah, they were a promotion out of California. I
Yeah.
mean, it got big enough, even though it was only a 500 person venue. It got big enough that big names in wrestling would go and watch the shows. Seth Rollins was backstage at a show one time. Then he started using moves he saw at the show in the next pay per view. Just saying. Excalibur, who's the commentator, and it's my favorite commentator in all of AEW.
Mm,
That's where he comes from. All these guys like MJF and a lot of the lower guys that we really didn't get to see too much. Brian Cage
yeah.
would be a great example of a guy who came from there. And I enjoyed watching those DVDs so much that that's what got me pumped for AEW. And the WWE guys and the Japan guys, other than Omega, who, again, I grew up, around my age, I grew up going to watch him wrestle locally. So I have a connection there. But I mean, Cody was never the tune in to AEW
No.
guy for me. It
No.
was, we have some fantastic talents. This guy has, it's like when a politician runs for office, right? You got to have a name brand recognition. You're more likely to get noticed. It's
Mm,
just the way popularity works.
yeah.
And Cody has that. He has the lineage. He can bring in a ton of legends who always support him because of their connection to his dad. So it's great like that. But now we've been here for a year.
Yeah.
What are we going to see, company? Like, where are you going to go with this? Jericho's only getting older. I love the guy to death.
Yeah.
Don't take that in a bad way. I'm just saying we need to see what the next evolution of the company is going to be.
And
Now, am I being unfair? Tell me if I'm being unfair
I don't
because
think you're
we have
being
this
unfair.
pandemic going on.
Look, dude, I don't think you're
Is
being
it hard
unfair.
to grow during all this? Like, I do think they tell better stories than WWE does. Every match, at least, has a compelling storyline.
Mm.
So I don't want people to think I'm being completely negative because I do have some faith in this company still.
Yeah.
I just feel like I'm watching the same movie for the third or fourth time.
The product feels better. The product presentation is a lot better. Like they've nailed this empty arena thing. It feels more live. Do you have my favorite commentary team? I love JR. Makes everything feel important.
Oh, yeah.
I love Tony Schiavone. Everyone knows that I'm a huge Tony Schiavone mark. Like, it's ridiculous how much I love Tony Schiavone.
I love it.
And it feels like WCW, right? Like really good WCW. But that's the problem.
And
It's
really good
W.
ECW, too. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's WCW, like, and they haven't learned anything. They just changed the names around. So instead of having
Oh, but wait, Derek. They call themselves a new league. Coincidentally, when Vince McMahon launched a new football league, no
yeah,
connection.
no
No
connection.
connection.
But like it seems like, oh, we're just gonna point score, and point scoring is great, but then it doesn't lead you anywhere. Like the things we've learned from the Monday Night Wars is You focus on your own talent. You build that up. It's the same with anything. If you're running anything, don't look at what they're doing. Look at what you're doing. And this is again what TNA's huge problem. All they did was focusing on what WWE are doing, and then it eventually just went off the rails and started making really bad decisions. And my fear is we're like AEW are setting themselves up for this. They're turning off people who are like WWE by doing silly things and not connecting. And then in the long term, instead of focusing on guys like MJF, who, to be honest with you,
He's amazing.
is there you go. There's your mega heel right there. He's fantastic. Or even Sean Spears is pretty cool. They're focusing on this elite inner circle thing way too much, and I've seen this before, but I think they're controlling that. But having Cody come out at the same spot and just kill it, like as soon as that match happened, it just killed the pay per view for me. I had to stop watching it, and then I watched it the next day, because I'm like, I'm annoyed now. This is just This is just, what's the point? Like, what is the point of having this match? If you want a title, just give yourself the title and be done with it.
During that match, I got, like, honestly, I'll just straight up say I got so bored.
Yeah,
that
it was
pulled
very
out
boring.
my phone to just check a little bit on social media, check some this wild news that's going on, and by the time I looked back up, it just felt like that tone had been set, and it took me another almost 3 or 4 matches to get back into it. It wasn't really until the main event that I started caring again.
I wouldn't mind. The women's match was quite cool. I really liked that. That was a really good no DQ match.
Statlander or the Nyla Rose?
The Nyla Rose match was quite good. Statlander was okay. But you wanted to talk about, like, actually, it's funny, right? Sorry, but I want to go with Penelope Ford. I thought that was Emma, and I'm like, she really looks like Emma, because I was kind of like watching it back and forward, and I'm like, wait, no, it's obviously not, but she really looked like her with the glasses on. I was like, oh, that's heel Emma. It was just.
Yeah, let me cut to the chase. She was very attractive, folks.
She was extremely attractive, and it was
very attractive.
It was very. I think I was gonna call her Hot Emma, but heel
How
Emma.
dare you?
Yeah.
Emma got hot when she got.
She did when she stole the iPad. She was like, she's got that element of danger. But yeah, I was just like,
well, Grand Theft Larceny, you never hurt anybody.
It was so funny, but yeah, I thought that match was pretty fun, but very inconsequential. Very inconsequential.
Yeah, I didn't even know what it was supposed to mean.
It was a match.
And by the way, can I call out? I'm just going to call this out. CBSSports.com. I don't know who you have recapping matches for you, but it's not acceptable to say, quickly cut him off with big moves. Oh. As former recappers,
what a maneuver!
Can you tell us what the moves were that happened?
Yeah.
Like, I know that type of writing. That's when you don't care about a match, and you're just like, oh my god, I've been there. I've done that. Quit or let somebody else better do your job. Just saying.
Fair. That's fair.
Yep.
The only one person can do that is Vince McMahon. What a maneuver!
What a maneuver!
What a maneuver!
I just had to do that.
That's fair. That's fair.
CBS Sports. I'm sure it's just your writer.
Okay, the Casino Ladder match that kind of opened up the show. I didn't watch the pre-show.
No.
This was a 30-minute ladder match.
You didn't watch the buy-in, man?
No, I didn't watch the buy-in.
My gosh!
Yeah, I started watching it, and I was just because I did. Well, I watched about 10 past the hour, so 5 past the hour, and the match was already well underway. It was interesting. On rewatch, I enjoyed it a bit more. It was not the best. It was not the best match of the card. It was not the best ladder match I've ever seen. However, this was supposed to be like is this the SummerSlam or the WrestleMania? I think it's the SummerSlam, right? It's like the second biggest show.
I've been having troubles figuring this out, because this one where they showed last year, I remember, because it was when Moxley debuted.
Yeah.
And it was huge. And Double or Nothing was essential. Was this their first pay-per-view? Well, it was their second, but their first one happened at like a convention.
Yeah.
It was an experiment. This was the first one officially under the AEW brand, right?
Yeah, there was All In, Double or Nothing, All In, Double or Nothing. That's the way it kind of works.
Right. So it's either SummerSlam or WrestleMania. I treated this like Mania when I
Yeah,
watched
same.
it. That's what I thought. I
That
don't know
that
if it was or not, but yeah.
yeah, that's how I was watching it too, and that's why like the actual card itself, as I said in my preview, you know, a WrestleMania needs a ladder match. It needs that big spectacle. And I think for the most part the match kind of delivered on that, but uh, they could have went for something a bit better than the big chip. It really looked bad.
Yeah.
Uh,
Now, did you have a problem? I'm going to ask you because I know my answer. Did you have a problem with the concept of this match?
uh, Not necessarily. It was a very veiled Money in the Bank thing, but I didn't have a. I had a problem with the presentation. I thought the presentation
Okay.
was very poor, and the way they would all come out at random times. It felt very TNA ish. It's like let's just do
Yes,
it
it did.
differently, just to do it differently. And I
Here's
would
why I didn't have an issue though with it
okay,
because if Urban Legends slash Wikipedia are to believe, Chris Jericho is the one who came up with the Money in the Bank concept.
yeah,
So it would make sense that he would take his concept to a new promotion,
for sure.
tweak it a little bit, I guess. But yeah, I didn't like the countdowns coming in. They made no sense to me. TNA did that stuff all the time with
They did reverse
oh
battle
my gosh, what
royals and
was
stuff.
yeah, what was that match they used to have where there were referee boxes on the outside?
King of the Mountain.
Oh my lord.
See,
So I got vibes of that.
I like King of the Mountain because I just kind of like King of the Mountain at the end. But
Well, I liked King of the Mountain because I could see AJ Tope outside the ring and over a penalty box onto somebody during his
yes,
youth. That
yes,
was nuts.
it was crazy. But the thing about King of the Mountain is like it was once a week, not once a week, once a year.
Good
Sorry,
lord.
good lord, yeah. It was once a year, and it was at Slammiversary, and it kind of had that marketing to it, right? But with this, it's like, is this going to be more often? Is this just going to be for this specific Double or Nothing show? You know, it's like,
Will it be for all casino themed pay per views, which
yeah,
you do
it's
a lot? I don't know.
they love their casino team pay per views. That's one thing that's very annoying. It's like, guys, can you just not can you pick another concept, any concept, and go with it?
Yeah,
Um,
I will say, I know it sounds like we're being all negative about this
no,
pay per view. We're not.
no, we're not.
We both liked definite parts of it. It's just we're not doing our duty if we don't point out some things that we would like to see improved, so we can just enjoy it even more. I mean, again, like I said, we actually enjoy wrestling, so we
Yeah,
want wrestling to succeed. That's our angle, if
exactly.
you will, that we're coming out with this. And I gotta say, Brian Cage, I've watched him a lot, especially in PWG, Lucha Underground. You would know him from as well, and the strength of that man is
Oh man.
unbelievable.
Well, see, this is what's great about about his debut. It's a gimmick which you can actually buy into, and the people that were in the match, not only were they good bumpers, but they're small guys. So he was
Hmm.
just killing,
Yeah,
like absolutely just killing these guys, and he looked like an absolute monster. So they made the right decision, and while the match wasn't amazing, the overall characters inside it, like they got over everyone. Like I think the strongest shown, other than Brian Cage, was Orange Cassidy, who
oh,
is
yeah, his entrance was fun.
but through the whole match, the commentator team, you know, were getting over that he didn't know how to use a ladder. So he's just like, why can't he set up a ladder? What's going on? And it was like he got over so much in such subtle ways that
Yeah,
it was brilliant. Like I think they have AEW have the whole character thing nailed down very well.
they do.
Yeah, as you said, every match tells a story. Every match kind of means something. And every match has a reason for existing, and that's one thing that I absolutely love about AEW. WWE can't do that. Like, there's no such thing as a squash match really in AEW. But it's also you got to be careful with that. You know, like with the we talked about the Chris Sandlander Penelope before match. That was a
Mhm.
good match. You knew the characters, but the match kind of just was there.
Yeah,
So even when you have
Brian Cage, yeah, his repertoire is so deep.
yes,
He's got so many of those power moves that it's not going to be like you send Ryback out and he just does the same slam for 6 weeks in a row.
but Brian Cage's
You
also a lot
know, like,
safer than Ryback. He actually is a
well,
good
yeah,
talent, good
yeah,
hand. You know,
he
Ryback
actually
is
knows
just
how. And I thought commentary, like you said, sold him extremely well for a debut. I don't really care that Taz was there at all. It did nothing for me.
Taz. I don't like
It was
Taz.
Samoa Joe all over again for me.
It did have real shades of TNA again. But the thing about it is, I think the difference between TNA commentary when it's done badly and when it's done well, is you had Jim Ross putting over this. And
Yes.
Jim Ross was like, hey, Taz is a money man. He looks out for himself. And that kind of made it a bit more legitimate. But then it just was like, oh, this is a rip-off of Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman.
Hmm.
So it's just like, again, AEW, what are you doing? Like, do you hate WWE or do you just want to be WWE? And that's my concern. I'm like, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You gotta either be different or be the same. Which is it? And
I think you can thrive and be different.
oh
I
yeah,
really
like
think there's a market for that.
that's why people love this product, and that's why people are so religiously wedded to it, because they're like, oh, this isn't the WWE. We hate the WWE, and their hatred blinds them to the fact that AEW is just ripping off big chunks of the WWE, which is why we're the only wrestling podcast that, you know, doesn't hate wrestling.
No,
Because we're just like, this is just the way it is. These are
it's just wrestling.
it's just
Honestly,
wrestling, right?
am I thankful that there was a show for me to watch during these chaotic times?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I have no regrets about watching it.
Oh, I thought it was great.
No.
Like,
Darby Allin also shined in this match, but you mentioned Jim Ross on commentary, and one of the things I love about AEW is how much more uncensored of a JR that we get. Because sometimes he tells great stories, and sometimes he makes really salty comments that I don't think are supposed to make
he
you
is so you can tell who he does not like, and he's just like, there you go. It's great. Like, as I said, the commentary team, it feels like a real team
Yeah.
with real people talking about it. Which is what you want. Like, it's funny because Excalibur, the guy in the mask that looks ridiculous, is like the most level headed of the whole lot of them, which is just the best thing about it. It's like, what?
Great.
It's crazy. Um,
There
but
was
look,
one line that Ross said, and I think somebody got suplexed into a ladder and bounced right back up to basically set up to get hit with another suplex or a hit or something.
yeah.
And Ross's commentary on it was something, I'm paraphrasing, it was something along the lines of, X gets suplexed into the ladder, but gets right back up to his feet. And under his breath, he goes, "Of course he does." I just started dying. Just calling it out for the fact that he didn't sell. I'm
but
like,
see,
that's salty JR. I love it.
See, that's great. Like, I think that's what makes it. Again, like, go back to TNA 2004, 2005. You'd get similar stuff from the Professor and from Don West. It was a similar kind of presentation. It was this kind of fun, uncensored, Wild Wild West kind of stuff. But with Jim Ross there, you have the pedigree of it as well, but also he's allowed to be himself and make these really insightful, funny remarks. Like, at no point am I sitting there bored listening to the show.
No, it's very entertaining.
Or even if the match isn't good, the commentary is, compared to when I watch WWE. And I'll be honest, a lot of the time I have to turn off the commentary because it's so terrible. I watch it without commentary because it's so bad. But that's one thing that this company has going for it. Like, it has a lot of really good things. Like, personally, as someone who lives halfway around the world on a different time zone than you guys, I love that it's on a Saturday night, because it means it means I can watch it and not be a zombie the next day at work. I think it's great. It's not like 1 a.m. on Saturday. I'm like, this is fantastic. It's why watching UFC shows are great too. And it's something that I'm really, if they change it, I will be like, absolutely just relentless on Twitter saying, please change it. But I think Tony Khan knows this. And this is one thing about Tony Khan. This is the great about having someone who has an English mindset running in a wrestling company in America. He knows that what it's like to be a wrestling fan over here, where you from the age of 7 or 8, when you realize that the shows are on at a certain time and you're cognizant of that, you're like, my life is going to be watching these shows at 1 a.m. on a Sunday. So he's like, hey, let's change it up a bit and do it on a Saturday. So I'm thankful for Tony Khan for that. It's one thing that TNA never did, which is shocking, because I remember saying that to Dixie Carter at one point and being like, hey, would you not think of doing shows on a Saturday? Obviously that didn't go anywhere. But It is what it is, right? Like, thankfully someone did it. So fair play AEW for that. Tony Khan, thank you for hitting that block. Saturday night could be a wrestling night, and it should be. It makes all the sense in the world. Sunday night really doesn't when you think about it.
No, well, I think it's you've got the tradition just because of
That's it.
WWE, but other than
That's it.
that, I mean Saturday night's perfect. You don't conflict with like football season. You don't have
No,
that issue.
no.
Yeah, you conflict with UFC, but quite frankly, I think if somebody was going to make a choice between UFC and WWE or wrestling rather, I think that choice has already been made. Even if you're a fan of both,
But Dave,
you know which one you'd rather buy.
UFC, to be honest with you, taking out the prelims, unless you're sitting there
Yeah,
watching the prelims, which most people don't even watch.
you can
Um,
tune in after a pay per view. Yeah,
exactly, and that's what it is. Like, what when McGregor would fight, he would fight at like 4:30 in the morning. So it's
yeah.
just like, I'm sorry, no wrestling show is going to go on to 5 in the morning. It's just not going to happen. So I think they've.
Not that WrestleMania is two parts now.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, to make me eat my own words there. But yeah, I think it's one of the greatest gifts that AEW has given, this new presentation style and this new way of presenting pay per views. And this is what I mean. If AEW came out and we're going to do shows on a Sunday night, that would be ridiculous. And it's like you're just copying. Doing stuff a little bit differently, knowing that you're not WWE and trying to do all these unique things that WWE just don't do, I think that's the strongest point way forward for AEW, the strongest point that they have right now as it is. And I wish that's what they
Absolutely, you
do, and
don't have
that's
to
what
be
we're
more
saying.
violent. You
No,
don't have to be more violent to be
no,
different. And
no,
I think we're starting to learn that. You
exactly.
pick
Like
and choose.
the match with Mox and Omega, while it was a fun match, it went way over the top. It was not a fun match to watch.
I mean, I
Um,
didn't think it went far enough.
what do you mean?
I mean, they could have been more hardcore with it.
Oh, they could have been, but I mean for a mainstream wrestling promotion in 2020, it's like you
I'm
don't need
just
it.
saying that's nothing, Darren.
Yeah.
That's nothing.
For context, this is coming from the guy who loves death matches. So what, you want them to break out sheets of glass and so throw them through the glass and powerbomb them?
I mean, yeah, unless I see
Come on.
at least 200 light tubes that are fluorescent getting broke over somebody's face, and they inhale the toxic fumes to the fact
And the
that the
staple gun and
referee in the middle of the ring starts to vomit because the fumes are too great, but he's
man.
surrounded by barbed wire that have been wrapped around the ropes so he can't escape. True story. I was there for that match.
You see, that's ridiculous. That's just crazy. I swear to God, when I do go over to New Jersey, Dave, you're taking me to a death match. I don't
I
care. We're
mean, yeah,
going. We're
you
going.
have to.
I have to.
Once spring
I have to see it.
hits,
I have to see
there's
it.
one like every. Oh my
I have
gosh,
to see it
it's
because that's just wild.
and
But yeah,
it's better in person than in video because you don't have to watch extreme close-ups. You can just take a seat and go, "Ooh, I don't know how if I can handle this at the moment."
oh, that's
Man.
hilarious. But yeah, look, it's
Just, I think I had one more thing before we close out. That's
sure.
cool. Because we talked a lot about production, and I thought they did a great job
Yeah.
overall. However, my biggest issue with the pay per view also was the production.
Okay.
And this is going to sound so ridiculous, I absolutely hated that there was crowd noise. I hated it.
I knew
Now,
this
when it
was
was
gonna
in
come
the
up.
building,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, but it was the things that they were chanting. If these are wrestlers and crew who are surrounding the ring for the most part, which is what they showed, why would they be chanting mark chants? It didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, are they piping things in? But then you would see they were chanting. So clearly they were, I'm sorry, I hate to like shatter the illusion for a second here, guys, but clearly they were following a script of cheer this at this point in the match,
Mm.
cheer this phrase at this point in the match. And it was okay when they were in the building, but when they went out to a football stadium that holds 80,000 people or whatever, you really want me to believe that the 10 people who were standing around chanting with the cheerleaders are going to be heard when they're up in the upper decks going through like reincarnations in water? It just, I know you can't do the soundtrack because WWE beat you to it, and I know you can't do those atmospheric effects and whatever, but I don't know if pumping in fan noise or however they did it, I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. It took me out of it.
I understand why he did it, and it was basically to be different to WWE.
That's what it screamed of. It
That's
screamed
what's
of
gonna.
we're doing this to be different, not we're doing this because it makes our product better and makes us seem different.
I, it's better than. Look, to put it into perspective, I was watching WrestleMania this year with my parents,
Mhm.
and when the women's matches were on, it was like, you know what it was like.
I
You know
know.
what it sounded like, and it
Your
was
dad
just,
comes into the room and he's very curious,
you're
but
just like,
everybody
yeah,
else
you
is
just
like, "What's going
and you're
on?"
like, what's going on? And it was just awkward. I'm sitting there going, this is the most awkward thing in the world. So, so you're like, what do you do? I think some piped in noise wasn't a bad idea, but they definitely should have done something different, more like the soundtrack thing for the football stadium, because that just made more sense. But look,
Right.
again, like it's a learning curve, it's a learning experience for them all. This is still a weird, very weird time to be wrestling, very weird time to be alive. To be honest with you, 2020 is getting more and more strange as we're going on. But
Not gonna get any better this summer. I'll tell you that's gonna be a
oh
hot
yeah,
one.
that's
But
for
no,
sure.
and that's why I say like that's my biggest complaint about it is their choice of how they produce certain set. But overall, like I enjoyed the product. I mean, if we're talking strictly about the movies and the matches and all that kind of stuff, they were spectacularly well done in front of a huge live crowd. I bet they would be going ape crazy over it.
Yeah, exactly,
Um,
exactly.
so there's so much impressive stuff to talk about, and if you watch any match from this, aside from the stadium show, the stadium stampede, or whatever you want to call it,
Yeah,
I would actually say watch MJF versus Jungle Boy. It's
yeah,
a fun match. It's not too long, and you can see some really really clever and creative moves. And if you're like me and you love flips, all the better.
exactly. This was a card. It was a Tale of Two Cities card. Had some really good stuff. Didn't have some. Yeah, I thought the Moxley Brody Lee match was very, very disappointing. Very disappointing. But this was a very story driven show. We'll get more answers as we're going on, and obviously, there was a lot to break down. But for the first big pay per view of the year, their WrestleMania, their SummerSlam, it was a solid B plus show, but that was about it. Anyone who says anything more than that, I respect your opinion, but I disagree. And I would say you just you're what
I
you're
will listen to your argument, but my mind is made up,
just
good
made up.
sir.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just like, particularly with this stadium stampede, I'm like, look, it was good, but you didn't hit the mark. You didn't knock it out of the park. For me, that was already done, and you were going against, you know, already the WWE has this pretty much locked down. So keep going. Keep trying new things. I'm not going to be up on this. I'm not going to say I hate the show. Like, because here's the thing. We wanted this. We wanted this kind of
Yeah,
change, and this is the future of wrestling. The cinematic, different way of presentation. So hey, let's see where it goes. Let's just call it the good, call it the bad. But I give all the credit in the world to AEW for trying this. Not something I thought I'd see, but I didn't hate it. It's just it wasn't as good as WWE. So let's see what else they do.
yeah, I'm 100% with you. I'm excited for what the future brings. I'm certainly going to watch the next show. I look
Oh, for
forward
sure.
to it.
Oh yeah.
This is not Disney coming in and retconning Star Wars and ruining both of my childhoods.
Ruining
So,
everything. Yeah, exactly.
ruining
Exactly.
everything.
Ruining everything
So
as Disney does. Yes.
as they do. Oh, and by the way, quick update, fans following the conspiracy. WWE has not been sold yet. Just the Derek wrong ticker that we're going to start putting in the top of the screen.
Hey, look.
I want you guys to know.
Look. I just reported it. That was it. What Dutch Mantel said. I didn't say it was going to happen.
Uh-huh.
I wouldn't be
Uh-huh.
surprised. I would not be
He's
shocked if it
sticking
does
to
that.
it. He's sticking
Of
to it.
course, I'm gonna stick to it, dude. Aliens could drop from the sky, man. 2012 was weird. 2020 was weird. So it just is what it is.
I'm just going to make sure I get a counter going just for next week, just for you guys who are watching on YouTube. And if you are watching on YouTube, once again, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, follow us on all of our social media. You can find links to all that at nerdtoknowmedia.com.
Definitely. Dave, before we get out of there, again, just gonna back up on what you're plugging. nerdtoknowmedia.com is where you can find all of our shows. Check out From the Dark, our conspiracy podcast. A lot of really fun stuff there. Aliens, time travel, all that good stuff as well. Nerd to Know Media is pumps out a show every single day. If you've never checked out the channel before, thank you for checking us out. And for everyone listening on Phoenix FM, thank you for joining us. We will talk to you next week here on The Wrestling Rewind. See you guys.